How many days are in a leap year? How many years are there in a century? How many years are there in a decade? If a figure is hexagonal, how many sides does it have? If someone lives in an urban area, where do they live? In which direction does the sun come up? Some calendars begin the week on Sunday. What is the other day which commonly starts a week?
What is added to a drink if you want to cool it down on a hot day?
What do we call a book that contains lots of words with their meanings? What do we call a period of 10 years? What do we call the organs in our chest that we use to breathe? What do we call the piece of paper that proves you have bought an item? What do we call the study of living things? What do you call the alphabetical list at the end of a textbook that tells you where to find specific information? What do you call the very long essay that students have to write for a doctoral degree? What do you need to see things which are far away? What does a king or queen wear on their head at official ceremonies? What instrument would you use to examine very small objects or life forms? What is 3/4 of 100%? What is more fuel efficient, car or truck? What is the antonym of vertical?
In the university, what do you study if you want to study the human mind and behaviors?
What is the study of the stars and planets called? What is the word for a period of 100 years? What kind of liquid do mammals feed their babies? What organ do cardiologists specialize in? What special document do most people traveling between one country to another need to carry? What word is used to describe frozen water? When the writer of a book is unknown, what word is used for the author?
Where would you normally expect to find equipment like microscopes, Bunsen burner, beakers, and Petri dishes?
Which hospital department would you go to for an X-ray? Radiology or cardiology? Which instrument is used to measure variations in temperature? Which sweet food is produced by bees? Which symbol is used to complete a sentence? Would you go to a pharmacy or a surgery to get a prescription filled after visiting a doctor? Whose job is it to treat people that are ill or have an injury at a hospital? What kind of book is written by a person about their own life? What is the red liquid that flows through a body? What is the name of a building where you can borrow books? Who is a person that makes bread, cakes, and pastries? On what geographical location would someone be living if their country is surrounded by water on all sides? What do we call a period of 1,000 years? Which is the longest? A decade, a millennium, or a century? How many days in a week? What do you call a piece of equipment we use to look at stars? In mathematics, there are four basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and what? Where do camels normally appear? How many years are there in a millennium? Which natural material is used to make car tiers? If a figure is pentagon, how many sides does it have?
What do you call the strap that secures a person in a car or an aeroplane?
When you get lost in a city, what do you need? If one's response is simultaneous, quick, or slow? What can we call a doctor who can sell prescribed medicines? What can we call the animals with white ivory and long trunk? How many days added in February during a leap year? How many years does a centennial celebrate? How would you call people who study ancient bones, rocks, and plants? If there are 8 black balls and 1 white ball, and I randomly pick one, which color is most likely to be picked? If you want to buy a ring, who do you approach? A jeweler or pharmacist? What do we call the instructions that tell you how to cook food? What is the job title for someone who cooks food in a kitchen? What do you call a list in front of a book which outlines the structure of a book? What is a sundial measure according to the shadow in the sunlight? What is the big musical instrument that has 88 black and white keys? What is the joint between your shoulder and your forearm?
What is the antonym of predecessor?
What are the strings on shoes? What are the things that you touch with your left hand when you play a guitar? What kind of sense you use by your ears? Which kind of mountain can erupt? What do we call the Times New Roman in Word? How many months does a calendar year have? What are the two holes in your nose to breathe? What can be used to describe desert? Aridity or humidity? Before airplanes were invented, how did people travel from America to Europe? What system does the Earth belong to? In the word postgraduate, what does post mean? What is the opposite of positive? What do we call the thread in the center of a candle? What natural resource is used by a carpenter? How many hemispheres does the equator split the Earth into?
If a conference is held annually, how often is it held?
What is the most catching line of the newspaper? How do we call a person who works in the company? What do we call a festival which is held every 4 years, gathering people together as a sporting event? What type of food does a vegetarian eat? Beef pie or fruit salad? Which day is between Tuesday and Thursday? What can bring astronauts to space? What publication reports daily news? What is the collection of pictures called? Who is a physician who performs surgical operations? We went somewhere. How do you understand it's a past sentence? What is the opposite side that sun rises? Who sits in the cockpit of an airplane? How do you describe the line that segment a circle? Which continent do China, India, Korea, and Japan locate? What is the antonym of artificial? What do bees collect from flowers? Why bees are important to agriculture? What do we call the person who can speak 2 languages? In addition to the A, E, I, O, what is the other vowel? What is a standard set of letters that is used to write one or more languages based upon the general principle? What kind of dictionary provides synonyms, antonyms, and related words? What is the name for students in universities who have not yet graduated? What does ASAP mean? What do these following belong to? Chrysanthemum, roses, daisies, tulip, etc. What device do you use to measure your weight? How do you call the diagram which includes a horizontal line called x-axis and a vertical line called y-axis? How many wheels does a tricycle have? Which part at the end of book can be used for further reading, an index or a bibliography?
Where can you normally find the index in a book?
Which one has a higher humidity, a desert or a rainforest? What is the hardest part of your hand? What is the hard object in the center of peaches, apples, and pears? What does the chemical symbol H2O stands for? A newspaper is published every day, and a journal is published every month. What do you call the publication that is published 4 times a year? How would you describe an animal that no longer exists on the earth? If you want to read tragedies or comedies, what kind of book do you read? What's the color of the medal that a champion gets? If a parent have a couple of children, how many children does he have? How do you call the siblings that born from your mother at the same time? Which of the following is not a means of transportation? By plane, by public transportation, or car model? What is the music that is recorded for a movie or a film? If a car is not stationary, what is it doing? Which literacy genre describes all details of a famous person's life? What are your options in gender when you completing an application form? Tomorrow's lecture is cancelled. If today is Tuesday, then on which day was the lecture cancelled? Where do people go for watching sports or games? What educational institution does a 10-year-old boy go to? What do these following describe? Kilogram, pounds, tons? If we say primary, secondary, what is next? What order is a bibliography usually listed in? When your bone is injured and broken, what would you say you have? How would you describe the process in which ice becomes water? What do we call the first paragraph of a report? When a person's blood alcohol content is higher than the standard range, what activity can't the person do? What material are windows made of? How do we call the car that uses two types of fuels? What protects birds outside their bodies? What do mammals use to feed their next generations? What are the people who study history and historical evidence? Does a scapegoat receive or give a crime? What century are we living in now? What device is used to measure a 200-meter sprint? What is the device that shows the time of the day according to the shadow of sunlight? What does a thermometer measure? What do you use to test the body temperature? What is 1/2 of 100%? When something is given in a pair, how many of them are there? What do meter and millimeter measure, height or length? Equator, divide the Earth into how many parts? What's the legal document protecting someone's intellectual property? What shines at night in the sky and uses its own brightness? Which shape has 4 equal sides and 4 angles, and each angle is a right angle? How often does February have an extra day?
What is the legal document that sets out how the people want their property and possessions, their estate, divided after their death? What do we call the things that birds use to fly?
How many years are celebrated in a bicentennial?
How do you call the doctor who treats sick animals? Who take care of people who are sick and stay in hospital? In what section of a library can you use the books and materials as references, but cannot borrow them out of the library? What is the opposite of division? What do we call the ship that runs underwater? What rises from the east in the morning and sets to the west in the evening every day? What is the magazine that is dedicated to academic news? What is the collection of comma, period, colon, explanation marks, and question marks? What is the last paragraph of an essay? Where do people watch plays? What is the act of students being present at school? What is the short piece of music that comes before a longer piece and is often used as an introduction? What do we call the device that controls electrical appliances on and off? What do we call the ground military forces? What force makes humans stay on the Earth? How do you describe an event that is held every 2 years? How do you call the condition of being unable to sleep? What kind of clothes and shoes do you wear to keep comfortable when hiking? How do you call the movements that the babies move by using hands and legs? What do forks, spoons, and knives belong to? What do you throw underwater to keep ships staying on rivers or oceans without drifting away? Apart from coffee and hot chocolate, what beverages also contain caffeine?
What is the book that you write to describe your own life story?
What identification document do most people carry to present their citizenship when entering other countries?
What's the place of areas where a college or a university is located? When you get lost in a city, what do you need to buy to find out where you are and where to go? If a meeting is scheduled on Wednesday and today is Tuesday, then will the meeting be held tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, or next week?
What is the main harmful instance in tobacco that is often discouraged by a doctor?
What publication reports current events every day? If you want to study the human brain and behavior, what should you be? What's the process of people paying money to governments for public services? What is the term used to describe a period of 7 days? What is the activity of inhalation of tobacco substance that is harmful to our health? What financial institution do people usually go to save money? What is the job title of someone who works at the beach and save people's lives when they are in danger in the sea? What documents would a doctor give to a patient to buy medicines? What subject involves the study of the periodic table? What is the occupation that transfers one language to another language? Which part of our bodies do we use the nasal spray in?
How do we describe the position of subterranean?
How do you call someone with no hair? What is the process where the color becomes lighter and lighter when exposed to sunlight for a long time? What is the list that shows the names of actors and actresses in a movie? What is the long speech that is spoken by only one actor in a film or play? What device is used to measure the height of mountains? Who is the Swiss greatest scientist in physics? What is contained in poisonous animals? What is the highest position in the embassy?
What is the description of events that is spoken with background music during a film or a play?
What do you call the son of your sister or brother? What do you call a difficult time when economic activities slow down and there are more people unemployed?
What do you call the people who work on boats? What is the official survey of a country's population, especially including demographic details of individuals? What is the horizontal line that separates the globe into two same halves? What is the verb describing the process that water becomes ice? When it's raining, what object would you raise over your head? What is the section in the library called where you can only read but cannot bring the books out of the library? What kind of things that the students will receive at the end of the term? In what room do scientists usually do experiments? What clothing do people wear, such as students or nurses, to show that they belong to the same organization? What do people with claustrophobia fear? What are buses, trains, and cars used for? What animal is a shepherd responsible for? What is the line where the sky meets the land? What is the document do students receive at the end of the semester that shows a student's units and grades? What gas will be formed from the boiling water? If you are celebrating a biannual activity, how many years ago did you celebrate it last time? What do we call the people who study religion? Where in the universe do we get solar energy? Where in the campus are the periodical collections located? What do you call the people who travel to visit famous sightseeing locations? What is the boat that carries people from one side of a river to the other? What is the opposite of the word public, for example, when describing an event? What is the external organ used for hearing? What do you call a baby cat? If there is only one business controlling the trades or the supplies in an industry, how do you describe it in economical terms? What category do bees, butterflies, and mosquitoes belong to? What is the yellow stuff found on beaches or deserts? What is the sound of lightning? What is the opposite of even numbers? What is the person called who has been suspected by the police? Which days in a week start with the alphabet T? What is the opposite of north? What will ice become when it melts? What vehicle runs on railways?
What is the political system where the country is ruled by a king or a queen? In some calendars, a week starts from Sundays. What is the other day that usually starts a week? What do people usually use to cut food?